Okay, so we've now finished with the base coat. So that's looking really nice. It's a nice sort of deep red colour, which I really like, is that sort of like proper vintage one. I think that they, when you get into like a little bit lighter cherry, it kind of has that, I don't know, they just look a bit cheaper to me. I really like the kind of old late 60s, early 70s SGs, so they have that kind of real deep cherry red, which is what I've gone for here. So hopefully whoever the prospective buyer will be will appreciate this. Backwing guard, which as everyone knows is the best. What we can do now is take this tape off here because we're going to be now clear coating. And the final thing before we clear coat is we've got to look at the headstock. Off camera I've done a little bit on it, but you know, literally just sort of trying to drop fill some of the bits where kind of paint is missing. What we'll have to do is just tidy it up and get it to the point where it's going to look good when it's clear coated. So let's have a quick look at that. I've just drop filled a little bit there and there. The areas of concern are these ones here where I sort of probably went through the base coat and you're now looking at the holly veneer with black stain, and likewise over here. So what we need to do is just sort of airbrush that slightly, but trying to avoid the Gibson logo, which should be possible without too much effort. So the first thing we'll do is get some 600 grit and flat down these bits here. I'm pretty happy with that. See, we've just done a little drop fill here. I actually used some acrylic paint because it's kind of fairly high build. I had some in black on hand and it dries super quickly. Can I feel it? I think that's good actually. Next thing I'm going to do is mix up some clear coat and just stain a little bit. So I'm just going to fold some tape over. This is a little trick that I learned from the gunman. And basically by doing this, what you do is soften the edges so you don't get that sort of hard spray edge that you then have to work out what you're going to do with. Of course we're going to get it there, but what I'll try and do is do this in sort of stages. So the headstock's looking pretty good now, but we still see some ghosting around the Gibson logo, and what we're going to do is just ghost over there with some black and then use a Q-tip to just sort of clean up the Gibson logo, and hopefully that'll be enough to put us in a good place. So what I'm going to do is just get some 600 grit and do a really light pass on this just to give us a nice smooth playing field. We've left that for about an hour now. So what I'm going to do is put some lacquer thinner on this Q-tip and just you know, make sure there's hardly any on there, and just carefully clean this off. The fine balance between having too much on there, and if you have too little on there, then you have to sort of rub this, and it's proving to be not a good thing. I think if I was to do this again, I'd go a bit lighter on the coats and sort of repeat this process multiple times. So I've just got a little pot of the lacquer that I actually just took out of the gun. I don't know whether this will work. Okay, so we've left that for about an hour, and what I'm going to do is very gingerly give this a little bit of a sand just to try and clean it up a little bit. So that we can see kind of what we're dealing with. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously I'm sure it looks like crap at the moment on camera, but have faith. Alright, I'm going to call that good. Question is, when it's got lacquer on it, what is that going to look like? Well, up close it doesn't look pretty because obviously you've got lots of brush marks and a few sanding marks and stuff like that, but I think we're good, and by the time we've laid a few coats on there and sort of rubbed it back, I think that will look really good. You know, we're doing the best we could work with essentially. Why don't we just give it a little bit of a sand in places, just to take out some of these scratches here. But really, we can't take off much at all. I think that'll probably do us. And we're almost at the fun bit. done 4 coats of clear so far, and what we want to do is just flat that off a little bit, not make it perfectly flat, but just give us a bit of a better playing field. And then the next few coats will go down flatter. There's also some grain that's still visible, and the aim is to try and flatten that. We'll get some 600 grit paper. Yeah, I think that's as far as I dare go with this. We'll have to just build it up and knock it back down again. So just on the edge here, just see I started to rub through slightly through the clear coat and into the base coat. So what I'm going to do is just give that a really light touch up by adjusting the spray gun. Just enough to properly atomize the paint so it doesn't get all splotty, but that is good. So we'll leave that to set overnight anyway. We wouldn't need to, but I'll leave it to set overnight, and we'll fill that in. What I have just noticed is this guy, and I have no idea when that turned up, but we're going to have to address that one. Touched a little bit of red in there and there, a tiny bit, and then drop filled some clear on top, so that should be pretty good. Colour's pretty forgiving, especially when you can see the grain. You know, it's not like a metallic where you get away with absolutely nothing. And we've also drop filled the screws from where the Bigsby was previously, because we stripped back to bare wood, and we grain filled and stained and all that sort of stuff, and then we've kind of put the colour on top of that. These screw holes will be very close to invisible. I mean, it will look like that guy or that guy, and those are just natural figurings in the mahogany. So, the more I look at it, the more I think about it. I think I'm just going to go stop bar here and let the next owner decide what they want to do. Rather than taking the risk of investing, $100 or so in a bridge that might not be favourable. Now what we're going to do is just try and level out these little drop fills that we did. So for the GoPro ding here and the Bigsby screw holes, and hopefully once we've done that, we'll be in a good place and we can stick some more clear coat on here.